I want to thank you for joining us for SAS's Fall 2023 Learning from Experience event to watch 7 of our fourth years present on their experiential learning. This is always a high point of the year for me, so I'm really glad that our guests are joining us and to have the students here. I don't get to see you as often as I like, so I'm so happy to see your faces this morning. I'm going to start by asking Era to give the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Barb. As director of SASA, it's my honor to acknowledge that SASA's home, Western University, is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, Lenapewauk, and Attawandaron peoples, on lands connected with the London Township and Sombra Treaties of 1796 and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum. This land continues to be home to diverse Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. We recognize these peoples as traditional and contemporary stewards of the land and vital contributors to our society. In SASA, we continue to work to embed Indigenous content in the whole range of our curriculum, as well as to offer dedicated courses and events highlighting Indigenous histories and experiences. Our intention to educate ourselves and to create good relationships with the members of our Indigenous communities is ongoing as we plan for the months and years ahead. Thank you. And let me also extend my welcome to everyone. It's just so great to see you all here this morning.
Thank you, Era. Before we get to the presentations, I'd like to take a minute to thank the students' employers and supervisors for not only working with me to allow the students to count their experiential learning for credit, but also for giving the students the opportunities to apply their impressive skill sets, for offering time out of your busy schedules, and for supervising and mentoring the students so well. To the students, thank you for your hard work and your professionalism. I know how busy you all are with your academics, your extracurriculars, your part-time jobs, and other responsibilities. In fact, I'm in awe of how you manage to do all that you do. Yet, 201, you have excelled in your experiential learning opportunities. I love seeing you grow and develop, gain confidence in yourselves and your abilities in these roles. You all have every reason to be proud of the work you've done. I'll remind everyone of the ground rules. Each student has 7 minutes to present. For students presenting on one experience, that would be Anthony, we'll give you 30 seconds grace. So Jen will let you know you have 30 seconds remaining at the 7-minute mark. For students presenting on 2 experiences, we'll give you up to 2 minutes grace. So Jen will give you the warning at the 8 minutes and 30-second mark. And then after each presentation, we'll take 3 minutes for questions. We're going to push through this morning. We have 7 presentations, so we should be less than an hour and a half this morning, so we won't take a break. I'm happy now to step back so that our presenters can share their impressive and inspiring experience with SAS's supporters and fellow students. And as I said, we have 7 students who will be appearing in alphabetical order. And starting us off today is Gray Brogdon, who is presenting on her work in the summer of 2021 here at Western as an academic support and engagement transition, or ACE, leader, and on the first half of her tenure this year as Western's student writer in residence. Gray.
Oh, I should unmute myself. Okay, 1 second. Slideshow. Awesome, everyone can hear me okay? Wonderful. Okay. Well, I'm very excited to be kicking off our Learning from Experience event. I'm Gray Brogdon, class of 2024, and I'm going to be talking about my two EL experiences, one as the ACE transition leader and one as my first 4 months of student writer in residence. So, starting off as my academic support and engagement transition leader role, or ACE transition leader, this was a role I held in the summer of 2021, and it was my job to provide a support system for incoming Western students. So all of the new students who are coming in for fall of 2021, I was there to support them with whatever they need, to talk to them about their incoming experience at Western. So the ways in which I did this along with my fellow ACE leaders was by facilitating community connection days. This was a series of days throughout the summer of 2021 where the incoming students had the opportunity to visit campus, get to see it, as well as participate in some leadership and strength building activities. We also led events for Smart Start academics. I was part of the chemistry team. We held several events, including a Chem Catch-Up Kahoot, a bingo night, and a chat with a student leader session where students could directly ask us about what they could expect in their first year. I found that event to be super engaging. I think it was really helpful for all the students, and I was really proud of that one. And then we also helped support programming on Faculty Day. The skills that I think I gained from this experience were very much in the leadership wheelhouse. We spent a lot of time leading activities throughout our various activities, and then also public speaking, organization, time management, teamwork, and problem solving. It was a lot of working on your own and working with teams, kind of like figuring out your own deadlines and making sure things got done. So I got a lot of practice with that. I also took on a special project with Monica Minaretto, who is the manager of graduate student life at Western, to work on the Owl Page Grad Life 101 for 2021. This was an Owl Page designed for incoming graduate students to get them acclimated to studying at Western. It was a really great way to practice my English writing and editing skills, as I was in charge of doing the transcriptions for the videos on the site, reviewing all the copy, and just generally making it pretty and accessible. It was a really great way to learn to work independently and take on more responsibility, as this wasn't something that the rest of my cohort of ACE leaders were doing. But I had a lot of fun, and I think it definitely prepared me for working on assignments in second year, because they really do ramp up. But I think overall, the best part of being an ACE leader was making connections. I was really fortunate that a lot of the ACE leaders in my year were also SASA students, so I was able to interact with my cohort outside of the classroom, which I think was extra nice since we were the COVID cohort and didn't get our typical first year experience that the other SASA students sometimes get. And it was also just really nice to meet people from all different faculties across campus. I don't think I would have had the opportunity to make some of the connections that I did without being an ACE leader. So overall, it was just a really great summer, and I had a really fantastic time. But now I'm going to move on to talk about my past 4 or 5 months, which I've spent as the student writer in residence here at Western. As the SWIR, it is my job to support and encourage the creative writing community here on campus. I do this in a myriad of ways, but the basics are holding office hours. So I hold my own office hours. Right now, they're every Thursday from 12 to 2, where students can come talk to me, and I can, second bullet point, offer them writing advice. So I have everyone from, first year students in writing courses who want help with their assignments, to grad students who are just hobbyists who want a second set of eyes on their creative writing, whether that be short stories, scripts, poems. I take it all. It's been super great to connect with students in that way. And then I also host and perform at community events, but more on that in a minute. I think the skills I'm gaining from this role are really focused in on my artistic practices, so writing, editing, and performance, but also more in the collaboration wheelhouse, since I do plan events with a lot of different people. So I've been really working on my interpersonal communication, event planning, and collaboration. It's been my absolute honor over the past semester to perform at many different events on the Western campus. So I just wanted to highlight a few. The very first event I performed at as student writer in residence was the Ode to the River Coffee House, which was part of River Fest, which celebrates the Dashcam Zibi, or the Thames River. It was a really sweet event that was all focused around the river and water. We had artists of all different disciplines, and I was super honored to be a part of it. Next was Poetry Live Western Edition, which was an open mic I held in conjunction with Words Fest, the Public Humanities, and Pen by Western. It was a huge success. I think we had an attendance of about 50 to 60 and at least 30 readers. So I was very happy I was able to host this event that invited not only students, but community members from London Large to attend. Next was the Right Now Presents Taya Majani and Gray Brogdon event. That one I think was the one I was most nervous for because I performed a longer set, about 20 minutes. It was my first time ever performing that many pieces of my work, but it was a really great experience that I think helped prepare me a lot for my future, since I do want to be a practicing artist who does performances and acts as a guest speaker and leads workshops. And then finally, I think one of the most fun events of this year was the SASA 10-year celebration. It was a really sweet way for me to be able to talk about my program and perform a piece I wrote for it that I think just capped out my past 3.5 years in SASA. So I really liked that one. It's also my favorite picture. However, as much fun as I do have at performances, I think the most important and the most rewarding part of my role is connecting with students. Whether this is meeting at my office hours, going to events, visiting first-year classes, or even just chatting over social media, I've been able to meet so many different people who are so talented from all across campus. I really love working with students in my office hours. I get to experience all forms of different creative writing from students who are at all different levels. And I am also in charge of the SWIR_UWO Instagram account. I'm really proud of this account. I've been able to grow its followership by about 150 people since I took it over. It's a really great place for students to not only connect with me, but also get information about writing, whether that's writing resources or resources about publications on campus. It's also a great way to connect them with the other organizations on campus like Pen by Western, HSC Pubs, Iconoclast, or the Western Coterie, which are all in that top picture on my side from an event we did during O Week where we talked to first-year students about publications. So I think connecting with students has really been just the highlight of my role and has really helped me find my writing community. Going forward, I'm really, really excited to take all the skills I've learned from both my experiences, all the leadership skills from ACE, all of the artistic skills I'm gaining during student writer in residence into what I hopefully will be graduate school for the next 2 years and beyond as I continue to develop my career as a professional and practicing artist. I just want to say a big thank you to Dr. Barbara Bruce, Dr. Jeremy Johnston, Dr. Pauline Wakeham, Joshua Lamier, Taya Majani, and my parents for all the support for making these experiences possible, because I know I couldn't have done it without any of them. And thank you. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Gray, for starting us off so well this morning. I'll get you to unshare your screen so I can see everybody. Are there any questions for Gray? All right. Oh, Era, go ahead.
I was waiting to see if someone else is going to ask a question, but I do have one, Gray. And that is, I don't know if you'll have one single answer, but what do you find is the most important piece of advice that you're giving to writers that come to see you in office hours or in other venues?
So a lot of the students who are coming to my office hours are particularly students from the writing classes, the first and second year classes. So it has been a lot of technical advice, formatting, how to properly get your dialogue. But I think the biggest piece of more like general writing advice I've been giving to students is to experiment with their writing. So if they wrote a story in past tense and it's not quite where they want it to be, I suggest, hey, why don't you restart the story and write it in present and see if that changes things? Or why don't you switch from first perspective to third perspective? I think the revision process is really, really important. So I always encourage students to try something a bit different in every revision.
That's awesome. Thank you. What a great presentation.
Thanks.
Does anyone else have a question? Well, I do. So your performances, and I have to say your performance at the anniversary gathering was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. So as you've been, giving these performances, you've been developing your skills. So what advice would you give to others about developing public speaking skills?
Yeah, I think The biggest things that help me with public speaking is recognizing that it is something you have to put time to, especially with my poetry because I tend to memorize it. I spend the day before performances pacing around my apartment, just saying it out loud, getting it, nailing it down, the words, where I want my inflections. I practice in front of the mirror. I think that just really helps you get comfortable with yourself, and you really can't be comfortable in front of others until you're comfortable with yourself. So practice doesn't make perfect, but it makes damn near close. Excuse my French. It's my dad's saying.
Great. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, it's obviously working because you're doing a great job. Right. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our second presenter this morning. Thanks, Gray. Who is Lauren Cowell?
Hi, everyone.
Oh, I'm going to intro you, Lauren. Lauren also counted her work as an ACE leader in 2021 towards her experiential learning requirement, along with the undergraduate summer research internship she did this past summer in sociology under the supervision of Dr. Julie McMullen. Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I'll just share my screen here. I'm not sure if this is the right one. Sorry. There we go. Perfect. Can everybody see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I'm also in the SASA 2024 cohort, and I'm a double major. And my second major is sociology. So this is my experiential learning opportunity project. So I just wanted to give a quick overview. So my first experience was in the summer of 2021, like Barb mentioned, where I participated in ASE, similar to what Gray was just talking about. And the job was predominantly in person and remote. And my second experience was in the summer of 2023, and that was the USRI internship, and that was predominantly remote. And then, so ASE. So I partook in my first EL experience in the summer of 2021. So this was fresh out of my first year, and I was eager to get experience working in a community-based approach and get to know Western a little bit better, because a lot of the time I was in BC and I didn't really get the chance to kind of engage with the Western community outside of my SASA classes. So it was an exciting opportunity for me to kind of like move, get to know the London community a little bit more, and just kind of understand Western a little bit better. So when I started there, I was with my coworkers, and I applied a lot of like leadership and interdisciplinary skills, as well as knowledge of Western campuses and facilities to support incoming undergraduates' academic, personal, and professional growth. So ASE introduced me to numerous events and sessions such as Community Connections, Smart Start Academics, Second Year Welcome Week, Faculty Day, and a project with Accessible Education where I had the opportunity to build connections with various people in the Western community. This was actually like a very impactful project for me, just because I'd done a lot of work in the community of like neurodivergency and differently abled people. And this kind of allowed me to do something on a wider scale and impact the institution in kind of a larger way than what I had done before in high school. So working with accessibility and different technicians and assistants in Western, I was able to format a document that was then provided to different professors and people that utilizing different rooms. So that was a really neat project for me. A lot of our professional training was done through Clifton strengths-based methods. So I began using my top 5 strengths, which were communication, woo, strategic, empathy, and achiever, as a program facilitator. So to this day, I still integrate my top 5 Clifton strengths into my personal and professional life, as it has helped me Kind of just in different jobs that I've taken on at different times in my life. I really think that it's something that I've stuck with because I feel like it does help me organize and prioritize my work. So it's definitely something that I still apply. And I'll probably honestly redo it quite soon just to kind of see where maybe I've changed after these experiences and how I can better apply them in my future. One of the challenges that persisted over this job was time management. A lot of it was in person towards the end, but it was very remote at the beginning, and we would work really, really long days in person and then come home, and we had a lot of things to do that were online, such as I was facilitating a physics group, which was new to me as I had known nothing about physics, but it was a really good opportunity to get to know different faculties and things like that. So one of the things that I did to combat this was just manage my time better and wake up a little bit earlier, go to bed a little bit earlier, and I managed to get through it at the end of the day. So it was a really neat opportunity for me. My second experiential learning opportunity was a collaboration with Dr. Julianne McMullen, and we produced a chapter for a handbook concerned with the sociology of ageism. So our chapter was titled Sociological Theories Contribution to Research on Aging, and our goal was to interrogate whether current literature was paradigmatically rich and theoretically informed. Working as a research intern pushed me in a lot of ways and really developed my skills as an employee and a writer, honestly. I was responsible for the sections grand theories, modernization theory, disengagement theory, activity theory, critical and postmodern paradigms, aging bodies, aging in media, the political economy of aging, feminist paradigms, and intersectionality. So as you can see, there was a lot of different topics that I covered during this time. And it was a little bit challenging. I'm not going to lie. There's not a lot of information on these topics that is readily available, as it is a very under-researched topic within sociology. So I was very lucky that my professor was very knowledgeable and had a lot of experience in the field. So she was able to provide me with a lot of materials, guide me in the right direction, which ended up making my experience a lot better at the end of the day, because at the beginning it was very overwhelming. The job was predominantly remote, which kind of caused some issues for me. I'd say that my biggest challenge was imposter syndrome. I was struggling. I was kind of not really finding community in it. I was spending a lot of time on my own. They were very long hours with a lot of time on my laptop. So the opportunity to connect with people within USR was really beneficial to me. So I find that as soon as I reached out to people and realized that everybody was going through the same thing, I really gained a lot of comfort in that. And I also talked with my professor, and she assured me that at this point in her life, when she was just starting this research, that she felt exactly the same way, and that what I was going through was completely normal and that I would work through it. Lastly, for USRI, what I found really helpful was my time in SASA and using the interdisciplinary approach. As when I was researching these various topics, I was able to apply my background in sociology and arts and humanities, and that I think really added a layer to my work that was very deep and insightful, and really, I think, made the outcome of the paper a lot better. So there's a couple of pictures here. One of them was me in the UCC, and then the other one was me at a bar in Ireland drinking a martini. So it was a fun way of doing my work, I would say. So yeah, for the results. So ultimately, these experiences have largely shaped who I am today. Through ASE, I was able to hone in on my leadership and collaboration skills, which has resulted in me having more self-confidence in different things that I do. I also had such a good experience with the job that I decided to do the continuation ASP while in my first semester of second year, where I spent more time with students facilitating programs within the school week, and that was really, really fun. As for USRI, I'm so grateful to have research experience under my belt, as it has helped me make decisions about what I want to do with my future. I recently applied to law school, and although I haven't heard back yet, I believe that my experience during my EL opportunities provided me with a holistic approach that will support me if I was able to attend law school eventually. So furthermore, these opportunities relit my desire to support neurodivergent communities, which has led me to evolving my not-for-profit Siblings Helping Other Siblings, which I've been working on since I came to university. But being able to see change happen in communities from work allowed me to really open up and change the trajectory of my not-for-profit, which has been very exciting. So thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. That was great. Does anyone have any questions for Lauren? Oh, fantastic. Katie.
Thank you. Thank you. And that was such a wonderful presentation. I'm always so blown away by what the students are doing in general, and especially in SASA. And I was just really intrigued to hear that you were using the Clifton Strengths, because being in careers and experience, it's really embedded in all of the work that we do. And also that you have some of the less common ones like woo. I'm just wondering if you could speak a little bit more to that. You talked about sort of working to your strengths and the work that you did. And so I'm wondering how much you felt that those top 5 strengths really resonated with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Woo has always been one of those things that people who know Clifton Strengths are always like, oh my goodness, no way. I think I have a very, sorry, there's a stink bug staring at me as I say this, but I think one of the most interesting things about my top 5 is that I have one, at least one from every single category. And I honestly think that, I mean, sure, if you don't, that doesn't mean that you're, not holistic in your approach, but I think that having kind of that like roundedness of it has really, I don't know, contributed to different areas of my life. And I talked a little bit about kind of how I feel that my experience has given me very much like a holistic understanding of different things that I do. So I really think that just like having different areas that I excel in, but maybe a little bit more strategic in one end, but woo and a little bit more outgoing on the other end. I think that's really benefited me in different areas. But yeah, I love Clifton Strengths. I recommend it to everybody. I think it's the best way to get to know yourself as a professional, as an academic. And yeah, it's something that I really trust, and I definitely will utilize for the rest of my life.
That's great. Megan is our Cliffs coordinator, so she'll be really happy to hear that.
Amazing. I think Gray has her hand up.
Yep.
Yeah. So you talked a bit about how, both with ACE and then definitely with your USRA, that time management could be hard because of like the remote nature of the work. And I feel that. And I was just wondering if you had any like specific strategies for kind of staying on task and making sure you can still manage deadlines when there's not really anyone else to keep you accountable.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, time management is not my strong suit. It is something I've struggled with my whole life. But I think it's something that I've worked on, and I don't think that I have one method that is maybe the best. I think what I do is I compartmentalize though, and that has been something that's gotten me through my undergraduate, is maybe eliminating some of those anxieties by going, how much is this going to impact me once it's done? How much, in 5 days, in 5 weeks, in 5 years, like how much is this really gonna ultimately result in, my sanity, So I think that's been one of the things that has been really helpful during my undergraduate. I'm a very anxious person by nature, and sometimes the like kind of paralysis of anxiety contributes to some of my time management issues. So I think that's been really helpful in just prioritizing and also giving myself some grace and knowing that life happens, things happen, school happens, and I can't always be the best student or the best employee, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put my, front foot forward and give it all that I have. And yeah, so compartmentalize.
Thanks.
Of course.
That's very wise, Lauren. And I think one of the big things that students learn in their experiences is to not go silent, because we do recognize that life happens, and your professors and your supervisors and that are sympathetic and can support you when life happens, for sure. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thanks.
Thanks.
Maggie Gleed is our 3rd student today who counted her work as an ACE leader towards her experiential learning requirement. I have to say the Frosh of 2021 certainly hit the jackpot when it came to their ACE leaders. Maggie will be presenting on that experience, as well as her internship this summer and fall with the Forest City Film Festival, which she somehow managed to do on top of her academic work, a part-time job at the KEG, an internship with Youth Opportunities Unlimited, and her work as the Arts and Humanities Students Council president. So thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time this morning, Maggie, and please take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you for the wonderful little introduction there. I'm just going to share my screen. says that it's loading and everyone can see. Yes, okay.
Yes, it's not in presentation mode, but there we go. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty. Hello, everyone. My name is Margaret or Maggie, depending on when we met and how I was kind of introducing myself. Sometimes it's different. And so I am a dual degree student with Arts and Humanities and the HBA program at Ivy. And so I am a part of the SASA cohort. Technically, this is my cohort, so it's nice to see familiar faces, but I will be graduating next year with the class of 2025. And so I'll talk a little bit about it as well, but arts and business is kind of a running theme for a lot of my internships and a lot of the extracurriculars that I take on. So one thing that I wanted to note that I realized myself going through all of these experiences is that I didn't actually take on any of them knowing that I was going to get credit for them. As in, I didn't mean to actually get the experiential learning credit through either of these internship experiences. It was an opportunity that was presented, and I always love leaving a door open. So I'm very happy that I was able to kind of do the introspection of the reflection reports and everything, and it kind of made these experiences a little bit more valuable. So my first internship experience was as an academic support and engagement transition leader, like Gray and like Lauren. Actually, Gray has more pictures of me in this position than I do. I don't have any. And so as the ASE transition leader, I actually learned of this position through a different project on campus that then contributed to ASE. So there was a program called Train the Trainer where 10 students were chosen to kind of create the training manual for Clifton Strengths-based learning so that other student facilitators could facilitate Clifton Strengths. So I was a part of that program with Alexander Elias, who was the immediate supervisor. At the end of that experience, he recommended the ASE position to a lot of us. I think Lauren may have also been in that program, if you remember. But after that recommendation, he was also a reference for the ASE transition leader position. So I applied, I was in the group interview, and then accepted the position for July. For the Forest City Film Festival, which was this previous summer, so July 2023 to October 2023, I had seen these emails popping up in my inbox because we have a wonderful partnership through SASA and FCFF. So I got emails from Barb about this, but it had never really clicked in my mind before that this was something that I would actually be interested in because I didn't quite see the intersection between arts and business. It was not until I was at a Western dinner and was sat kind of across the table from Dorothy Downs, who is the founder and coordinator for FCFF, that I really got to understand how that business and arts is interconnected in FCFF and how we basically use business as like a booster to put arts on a pillar, in this specific instance, visual arts with filmmaking. So after chatting with Dorothy, I sent in my resume via email. I had an interview and then accepted the position to start in July. So the first two kind of lessons that I had just from learning or looking at how I started these experiences was that I picked internships based off of people that I would be working with and their passions for their projects. So that was a main driver for me when I was kind of choosing the internship experiences that I would undertake. The second was finding that intersection between arts and business. Now for FCFF, that was a little bit more evident because I had a little bit more experience identifying those intersections, and I had that exact conversation with Dorothy. But for ASE, I found kind of on reflection that that intersection between arts and business is really about being adaptable and using lessons from within art to create meaningful impact on other people. So as an ASE transition leader, we've heard this kind of twice already, what the role requirements were. And so I facilitated a lot of group sessions that were focused on resources, community, and tools. So that included Clifton Strengths. So I had done my strengths evaluation for this, the Train the Trainer program. I actually redid them recently as well. So I have been continuing to use them and teaching other students how to use them as well. We worked with Smart Start Thriving at Western, which is now called Smart Start Learning, Smart Start Academics, in which I was responsible for the data management line, which I had a class in data management in high school, so that was good to flex those skills. We also did lessons on life design, and then we informed students on different peer mentor programs around campus that they could use throughout the year, whether they were struggling with academic related issues, if there were just different sounding boards that they needed at different stages in their first year of university. As a filmmaker concierge, I was responsible for facilitating communication between the full-time staff of FCFF and the filmmakers. I was responsible for 8 filmmakers throughout this experience. One of them is who you see on the screen here, Carolyn, and she's signing her awesome poster for her feature narrative, Broken Waters. I was also responsible for reviewing in-competition films and generated relevant promotional ideas. This also included kind of outreach campaigns and promotional ideas for different bundles. So there was a deep dive for mental health and homelessness, in which I partnered YOU with Forest City Film Festival to add another perspective to the panel that was associated with those screenings. And so we would meet weekly with our other filmmaker concierges to kind of kickstart those ideas. The final responsibility as a concierge intern was to attend the festival and greet the filmmakers and provide some auxiliary support for the full-time staff during from October 14th to the 22nd. So I have here all of the posters of my lovely films. I did watch every single one of them. I met almost every single filmmaker because part of the responsibility was to set up one-on-one meetings, to email with the filmmakers to keep them apprised of what was happening through the entire build-up to the festival, the build-up to launch day, telling them when their screening was going to be, who else was going to be screened with them, whether it was a short or a compilation of shorts or a feature, and keeping them apprised as to what was happening. So aside from the kind of roles and responsibilities of both of these positions, there was also the teams. And so we had 2 very different types of teams through these 2 different experiences. So with ASC, with student experience, our team for the first little bit was remote. As we were doing our training, there was no real need to be in London and working together. But then as community connections came right around the corner and we started prepping to facilitate those student sessions and lessons, we were brought in person and were partnered off into duos and trios to really work together collaboratively to inform each other's presentation, because we were essentially giving presentations for a couple hours every day. And so because we were in person so consistently, we really had a good chance to bond as a team. We have a group chat. I don't know if anyone's still texting it, but we still have it, where we had inside jokes. We would support each other through kind of new adventures, and those who were of age at the time, which was not me, would occasionally go out to drinks if COVID restrictions allowed it. As a part of FCFF, the concierge interns were predominantly online for the first, I think it was a month and a half or so, really up until the launch party in September. And so we still met every week regularly, and we would bounce ideas off of each other, and we would use our own experiences to inform the promotional strategies that other people would be taking. So it was a really collaborative experience in that sense. And then as soon as the launch party happened, and then the festival was right around the corner, and we started to actually interact a little bit more together, it was a really fun experience to kind of work with these students and kind of build off of their own experiences. There was a team dinner for FCFF, but unfortunately I was coming back from the Ontario University Fair and I could not go, and I was so sad. So to kind of wrap up the notes of my presentation, I had a couple of
seconds left, Maggie.
Okay, I will go through this really quickly. I had a couple of goals for each internship. I really just wanted to build professional experience and provide kind of an informed environment for both filmmakers and for first year students coming into Western. And then for myself, I really wanted to expand my opportunities. I don't like leaving doors closed, and I like to practice kind of learned skills that I have from my HBA and then from my experience in SASA. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. That was great. Switch the view here. Okay, Gray, you're right off the mark there, so I'll hand it over to you for a question.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a really great presentation. I really like the point you made about picking experiences based on people. I do think like having a good team is really important. But I was just wondering, you talked about how you were able to find some really good people. I was wondering if you, once you were in the roles, if you came across people who are maybe a bit more challenging to work with that you wouldn't have picked if you were in charge, and how you kind of navigated those situations.
Yes, actually, it's funny. I didn't even think about that, but it's funny that you asked the question and then it kind of provokes the thought. I remember one person in ASE where if I was responsible for hiring the different leaders, I don't think I would have made the same choice. And as as a kid, I don't think I really knew why they made that choice. Or why the people that were in administration and hiring us as ASE leaders made that choice. But then reflecting on it now, and this is also speaking with kind of AHSC president hat on, you pick people for their skill sets and their ability to, or their passion for applying their skills to other people that you're working with. So this particular individual was dedicated, absolutely dedicated to making sure that students had the best experience possible, and was very informed as to things going on around campus. This was not the first or the last time that they held this position, and you could tell. And I don't think I had the perspective at the time to kind of realize it, but now 2 years removed, I'm like, okay, no, I understand why this choice was made. And then for the FCFF internship, I didn't have any particular instances or like kind of the same sentiment about anyone that I was working with. But I think it's also because of that 2 years of perspective and kind of going through those paces of hiring people and of working with people where you're like, I'm going to sit back for a second and I'm going to see what you bring to the table. I'm not going to change anything about what I do. And then we will have common ground. We're obviously here for the same reasons. So we will have common ground and we can work off of that.
Patrick?
Thanks.
Thanks very much, Maggie. That was amazing. I'm conscious when you're presenting that you seem to be amazing at integrating your thinking and really drawing together the threads of the various sort of influences and contexts that you're working within and coming out of. And I was wondering if with your HBA work and the work in Arts and Humanities, are you conscious that you are kind of building structures and ways of working based on experiences in those settings, or is this just you? I realize that's a bit of a hard question to answer, but having you as an HBA, a double degree student, it's always good to kind of know where some of this is actually coming from.
Yeah, I think this is a hard question. Wow. Good thing I'm also in philosophy, so I can do the kind of critical thinking. I think a lot of my experiences are subconsciously chosen based off of passion that is ingrained into me through my experience in arts. And then any of the kind of skills that I developed through my HBA, I'm really just trying to use them to the best of my capabilities to complement arts. So in my HBA 1 year, and I've been vocal about this before, I had a very difficult time with a subject matter that I could not find integration with between arts and business. But now that I have a little bit more perspective and I'm kind of back to working with my passions, specifically in philosophy, in ethics, I'm able to actually see how those kind of strictly business skills do contribute to the benefit of arts. So for example, I have two examples and I'm trying to figure out which one is best. So for Arts and Humanities Student Council specifically, I based my platform for my campaign on the fact that I wanted business to complement arts rather than vice versa, and use the structures that I had kind of learned of in my HBA 1 year to support and to bolster AHSE. And so the entire end goal of any structure that I set up or any kind of tools that I use for my HBA are to make sure that arts has a platform whether it's learning public speaking, whether it's having an accounting course in my back pocket so I can do a discounted cash flow on the benefits of, I don't know, running a certain event in AHSC, which I don't think I'll ever do, but I could. And so it's just having that skill set to complement the arts. So I think that answers the question.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. I'm glad Barb's recording this because you'll want to hear what you said.
Oh, yeah, that was great, Maggie. Thank you so much. Next up is Anjali Singh, who will be telling us about her internships with the Power and Global Health Video Capsules Project and the Global Health Equity Hub, both under the supervision of Dr. Élisée Nuvet, a professor in Western's School of Health Studies. Julie.
Hi, everyone. One sec. Let me just share. Is that working?
Yeah.
This bar. I used to maybe move this bar's name, right? Oops. The bar thing on the screen. Okay. Hi everyone. So I'm going to be talking about global health equity at Western. I love like this club. I've been a part of it for all of my undergrad. So I'm really excited to talk about it. So in the summer of 2020, I started my internship with GHE. I was really nervous because I was just coming out of high school and I heard that they had a call for journalists. So I was like, okay, like let me kind of get like involved and, you know, start getting involved in university things. And so I immediately applied. Let me go to next slide. So not only was I met with like just people that were super caring and nice and great to work with, but they really like valued and respected my work because I had kind of a different skill set. So global health equity does focus more on like the sciences and health equity, which I'm not super specialized in. So that was also why it was interesting because it was something out of my direct field. So I split the presentation into the 4 years that I have been working with them. So first we start in 2020. Like I said, first year of high school, quickly introduced to this great environment. I was working with one of our very own, Julia Albert. So that was really great. We both got to work on the COVID-19 video time capsule project to get together, which is what I initially applied for. So given that the theme of Power and Global Health Day that year, which is an event that will happen every single year that you will see in this presentation, the theme was Power and COVID-19. We thought that that kind of fit perfectly. So Julie and I interviewed professors and like had another really great teammate who edited all the videos together. I put some questions on the left of like questions that we asked all the professors. And then at the bottom, we published the video capsules on scholarship at Western. So that was really cool. Another thing is,
I think when the pandemic first,
sorry, this is just a clip. I'm just going to show a short clip of an interview that I really liked. It was with Professor Nadine Wathan, and she answered, what are some of the impacts of stay-at-home orders on women's experiences of safety in Canada abroad? So hopefully you guys can hear this.
Started to appear and we started to see how, you know, impactful it was going to be across society. One of my first thoughts was, wow, you know, when we say lockdown, that's not the same thing for everyone. We need to really understand that home is not safe in the same way for all people, even if you have a home, and many people, of course, don't have homes. So I reached out to our local shelter director here in Nova, London, and said, you know, how can we as researchers help to illuminate some of these concerns, and what are you seeing so far? So I think
So as you can see, she's just so well spoken, and this is an example of just one of the video time capsules we did. I thought this was super interesting because she was talking about COVID-19 and kind of like the stay-at-home order and how that is a gender-based issue, which is something I never really thought about. So this year, every year, I'll kind of discuss like a problem, I guess, that we are like a challenge I ran into. So we just had some problems with like professors not answering emails, but through like thoughtful nudging and like gradually being like, you know, like come join this project. We had 17 different professors answer. So it was incredibly meaningful. So next year in 2021, I'm back on the team, excited to plan Power and Global Health Day. So the first 2 to 3 months of the semester usually is leading up to Power and Global Health Day in November. And so for this year, I got the opportunity to be a blog judge for a competition. I was kind of honored to be one of the student judges. I was really happy because of my journalism background, so they let me be a judge. A problem we ran into this year was that with coordinating the judging, since a lot of the submissions were very late, so at the end, I actually had to stay up and mark 10 blogs in one night, and then me and Ellie had email correspondence one night at 5 a.m. and we're like, okay, everyone, rest your eyes, we're done, it's good. And we ended up getting through it, so it was fine. Another thing I did this year was managing the third year health day conference for students taking the online 3380Y course. So that was really cool. They were doing a debrief workshop about critical and ethical engagement. So I got to just monitor questions and help with that. And Power and Global Health Day, again, was a huge success. So 2022, so unsurprisingly, I'm on Global Health Equity again. So this year gets 3 different slides because a lot of stuff happened this year. So this year I went from being basically a judge for last year to helping coordinate the entire blog competition, which was really fun. We also got to launch a website, and I got to create a podcast similar to the video time capsules. And then this was more like my own project though. So these are some cute pictures of all of us at Power and Global Health Day with my colleague and with Dr. Alize Mive. This is for the blog competition. Basically, I got to coordinate all the blogs, coordinate the judging scoring sheets, and then read out excerpts from the winners and congratulate them. This is an excerpt that I read from the winning blog, which was really, really cool. You can take a sec to read it. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep pictures. And so then we also launched the website this year. So it was really important because we presented this to the VPs of research for funding. So we all got to go into a meeting and kind of describe why the GHU website, which we called the hub. So the hub of where all of our information would be, where you find out about Power and Global Health Day and the capsules and the podcast and everything. So it's a tool for students. That was really helpful. I was really proud of this website. And then that's Dr. Nibbit kind of on the cover. And then lastly, we have the podcast series.
Life in many ways is an open book.
Lastly, we have the podcast series. I got to interview 2 really incredible people. Maza Sayum, who was a panelist and keynote speaker at Power and Global Health Day, and then Professor Eric Collins. So I got to interview them. I planned the project proposal around April 2022 and then worked on it over the summer. And now they're officially all published. I can share those with you guys after. A problem that I ran into this year was that my assistant for the podcast team, who's supposed to be working with me, actually ended up dropping off of the project halfway through. And Dr. Eric Collins was supposed to be the person that she was going to interview. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything about this person. So I had to just problem solve and research, find out about his scholarship, and we ended up having a super meaningful discussion. So I'll play a little clip of Dr. Collins so you can just hear something about his life.
Even my doctoral research is, it's what was referred to as an autoethnography, which is a fancy way of saying I wrote about my lived experiences with drug use. And so I've explored these things in the past, on other podcasts and at conferences, and it wasn't always like that, right? At one time I wasn't comfortable sharing my experiences, and it is difficult to open up and to be asked questions about this stuff. But for me at this stage of life, it's not something that I shy away from. And in many cases, I encourage having those conversations because I know there are people who are struggling, in silence, or there are people who need to hear this kind of thing. And sometimes I do get messages from students or people in the community, if I do
Yeah, so basically that was just a little clip. Dr. Collins himself went through a lot of things with drug abuse and prescription drug abuse. So it was really important for him to kind of share that throughout his scholarship and help affect other people and help them. So that I found that really inspiring. So basically this internship is not only giving me the opportunity to meet new people, but really cultivate skills that I wouldn't have come across in my direct field. The time capsules helped me build confidence. The podcast furthered my enthusiasm for global health. Judging blogs helped me appreciate the work of our students. And curating the website was just such a unique experience that's going to help me with my professional development. And of course, Power and Global Health Day was a hit every year. What I really appreciate about this experience is I always kind of thought that because my interests were so broad, I wouldn't ever that was detrimental to my success. I was oh no, I need to hone in on one thing. But then I like spoke with people in this program and spoke with people like some of my own mentors, and they showed me how it actually just really adds to my interdisciplinary education and work experience overall. So I'm really glad that I got to work with Global Health Equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali.
Thanks.
That was great. And you know, what a great commitment you've had. Your passion for that project is just shines through there. So congratulations. Do we have questions for Anjali? Anthony.
Hi, Anjali. Thanks for your awesome presentation. So my question is for the interview process of your project. I can hear myself, which is really awkward. But the sorry, that jumbled my brain for a second. I just wanted to ask you, yeah, I just did a project with Emma that was pretty interview based, and I know that can be kind of difficult to get the answers you want or just to facilitate that conversation. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experience interviewing and if you've ever done interviewing before and how that might be different than another public speaking or engaging kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. They kind of hired me because they needed someone who like wasn't like directly in the sciences to help exactly with that, with interviewing, with writing like articles and helping to curate blocks of text for the website. So I had a little bit of experience interviewing because I used to work as a journalist in high school. But this was, yeah, like I know exactly what you mean. Like, you know, you're also like nervous to go into it. You're like thinking of the questions. You're, you know, and then it was really interesting to also see my transition from like first year working with Julia, kind of letting her take more of the lead and learning from her, and then last year doing the podcast series. I really felt like I like had gained those skills and like it was just so much easier and felt more natural. So I felt like, yeah, with practice, interviewing, like it really is a skill that you can like help develop, even though it seems easy. Like it is like difficult, like you said.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Anthony. I'm going to jump in here with a question. So you actually started the internship the summer before your first year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just wanted, for the record, that has never happened before or since. So what were the biggest challenges you faced getting involved in this project before you'd even started university? And would you advise others to be so bold in, you know, jumping into a project like that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, sorry, let me just say, by bold, I am being completely complimentary. Absolutely.
No, don't worry. I like that's why I started my presentation with that, just like the whole spiel. I'm like, oh my God, like I remember like July 18th was officially the day that I got accepted into GHE, and I was like, I feel like I'm in university. Like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And I really, yeah, would urge people, like it helped me create a community also during COVID, which was hard, and it felt like I just had something else that I could do besides, you know, sitting in my room. So I definitely would urge other people to do that. It also like builds confidence, I feel like, because like coming out of high school, I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna be working with all these older people, but they like respected me and treated me like one of their own, and that felt really good. So I would, and you know what? It's also because of your emails. I was looking at those, like those great internship emails and like over the summer, and I was like, Anthony. Yeah. I know, I was like, oh my God, should I have done that? And like looking back, I was really glad that I did it. And it's really fun to do this presentation and see, I had to go into my old emails from 2020 and like look through to find the information for the presentation. So that was cool.
Well, I'm glad you rose to the challenge. I have to say, some of those emails I send out tend to freak out students who haven't started yet. So, you know, kudos to you for just grabbing that with both hands and running with it. That was fantastic. Are there any other questions for Anjali? Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Our fifth presenter this morning is Naomi So. Naomi undertook an internship at Metatherapy and Integrative Healthcare Center in Markham in the summer of 2022. and a 4-month international internship this past summer in Rwanda, where she worked as part of Western International's Probiotics Food Initiative. Naomi.
Hi, everyone. I'll just share my screen right now. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So, hi everyone. So today I'll be talking about my experiential learning with metatherapy and Western Heads East. So metatherapy is an integrative healthcare center and sports medicine clinic that specifically offers chiropractic care, physiotherapy, and massage therapy. And like Barb said, I was in the Markham Clinic location from May to August. And during my time there, my main interest was in physiotherapy. So much of my time spent was shadowing a physiotherapist. Some goals while I was at the clinic was to first develop clinical skills, and that meant shadowing different clinicians and developing hands-on skills. Another was to collaborate with other interns and physicians, and then establishing meaningful connections. So hopefully to develop long-term relations with physicians and interns. And lastly, career-related experiences, such as gaining a deeper understanding of the roles and responsibilities of a healthcare practitioner. So my main responsibility was being at the front desk, so to welcoming patients, scheduling appointments via email, phone call, or in person, as well as filing insurance claims and billing for patients that had finished their treatment. On the side, I was also given the opportunity to assist physicians, such as taking part in treating patients by using different modalities, such as ultrasound, laser therapy, and shockwave therapy, or assisting with different prescribed exercises. Another task I was responsible for was the overall cleanliness of the gym and clinic by making sure equipment was wiped down after every patient. And lastly, patient care was my main priority to make sure patients coming in were in a comfortable environment. So a major challenge I had in my internship was due to a conflict I had with my supervisor. However, through extensive communication and planning to meet with the owner to really talk through and discuss what the problems were, I had to stay patient and positive throughout the process. As well as before the last discussion date, I did a lot of personal reflection on my capabilities and if there were any of my personal actions that could have been misinterpreted. But throughout the misunderstanding, I continued to work at the clinic without giving up and putting my best foot forward. And that finally ended up on a positive note with my supervisor. So some outcomes of this internship was problem solving. So after resolving the conflict I had with my supervisor, we ended up working really well together. And at the very end of the internship, I was able to take on my own patient by doing cupping and testings to test my practical skill and overall knowledge. And I think I finally had an improved clinical skills through deeper understanding of the science behind each therapy, as well as great relationships with the physicians and staff. And I still visit my supervisor every now and then. So my second internship was with Western Heads East. This was in Kigali, Rwanda for the 4 months of this past summer. And so Western Heads East is a collaboration between Western staff, students, faculty, and African partners using probiotic food to contribute to health and sustainable development. The overarching goal of the program was to promote women-based economic growth, participate in development of sustainable community health, and actively combat local undernutrition concerns. So my internship took place in Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, and over the 4 months I was there, I was collaborating with professors from the Nutrition and Dietetics Department and University Rwandan students to further develop a probiotic yogurt kitchen that was halted due to COVID-19. And so probiotic yogurt was determined to be a great solution due to its high benefits in improving your immune system. And due to African countries having high percentage of malnutrition and therefore increased rates of health diseases, probiotics actually help to alleviate this. Specifically in Rwanda, there's up to 60 or 70% of chronic malnutrition and stunting found in children in more rural areas. So my project goals was specifically to ensure the university kitchen had appropriate materials for yogurt production, which we had to gather once we got there. Another was to collaborate with UR students to ensure sustainable continuation of yogurt production. And another was to learn and understand more about the Rwandan culture so that can translate to what materials would be best to make yogurt and what would actually really benefit people in Rwanda. And the last goal was to continue to develop and maintain relations with the Rwandan community partners. So the first challenge I had faced in my internship was work styles. Due to the difference in cultures, things were done much slower compared to here, where we were constantly chasing after deadlines. From then, there are many other things in the life that can take priority, resulting in things getting pushed back. However, through mutual understanding and compromise, we learned to increase communication and effective task management in order to finish the tasks. Another challenge was purchasing equipment for yogurt production. So many equipment we find accessible in Canada can be found at our local Walmart or brought through Amazon. However, that's not the case in Rwanda, and there wasn't enough time to be shipping things from Amazon to where we were. Therefore, we had to adapt and come up with creative solutions like using weight measurements for powder and then doing conversions instead of having a measuring cup. And then our last challenge was in funding. So in order to get yogurt production sustainable, we ended up hosting a conference at the University of Rwanda where we invited local businesses and nonprofits. And the conference was actually very successful as we were able to generate great awareness of the benefits to probiotics and as well as gaining collaborations with UNICEF and other local organizations. So some outcomes is in order to ensure that yogurt production would not stop once me and my other intern left, we decided to develop a student organization, which we called PAC, called Probiotic Advocates Club. And we established 8 to 10 executives that would run the club once we had left. They were able to learn the process of yogurt making as well as the benefits of probiotics so that they were able to do the teaching once we have left. And then before we left, we were able to officially start collaborating with the local Rwandan women-led organization called Isho Foods. And it's also one of the first companies to sell probiotic yogurt in Rwanda. And the last part was we hosted the UR conference where we discussed possibilities of partnerships and introduced the idea of probiotics for a local community and the possibility of all of Rwanda. And again, we also maintained relations with existing partners throughout the process. So some exciting updates that I've heard from my supervisor in Rwanda since I've left is that PAC became an official club as part of University of Rwanda. So they actually get to take part in all the decision making without going through the supervisor anymore. And then recently they were part of Kigali conferences during Innovation Week, which just happened like a month ago, and they met with more potential partners to get more funding. So thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Naomi. That was great. I'm so envious of your experience there.
Thank you.
Any questions for Naomi? Greg?
Yeah, Naomi, it's Paul Cross. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
No problem. I'm so interested in all of your things that you did. And apologies to everybody for being late, number two. When you were working in the clinic, I'm in healthcare a little bit at our firm.
Yep.
You talked about the conflict resolution. You talked about all the self-help that you worked with. How was it interacting with the patients who actually came in? Did you feel comfortable doing that? Did that stretch you a little bit in your capabilities? I'd be interested on that point.
Yeah, so I think I was comfortable with working with the patients overall because the clinic was like it had a diverse age range with like young children coming in and also older seniors. And I think because of my past experience working with other people, whether that be in volunteering or in summer camps, I'm pretty introversial, so I think it didn't really affect me too much. But because it was predominantly a Chinese clinic, some patients weren't able to understand English. And so there were some physicians that would come in and they wouldn't be able to explain procedures as well for especially older seniors to understand. And so I kind of took the opportunity to use my Cantonese to kind of help be the translator in between. And I think that also like really reworked my Cantonese to be better. And it also encouraged me to actually get better in my Mandarin speaking as well. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I guess it definitely challenged me a bit to really think about in the future, if I do want to open a clinic, what those strategies I would need to be working on for sure.
Fantastic. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Michael?
Great. Thanks, Naomi, for all that. I really appreciated your forthrightness about the challenges you had with your supervisor, because I think it's, it's good for us to know that not every experience is 100% positive. You said you managed to resolve things. I mean, what did you learn from that? I think is what I want to know.
So basically, I think one of the hardest things to struggle with is that especially in a working place, like I'm kind of below the supervisor in terms of like I take whatever she tells me and I do it. But the thing is, like when my supervisor kind of was feeling tense with me and not really liking me, I can feel it. I ended up having a conversation with her because I didn't want to be walking around eggshells the entire time I was working there. And so when I went up to her, she kind of didn't really address the issue. And she was like, oh, everything is fine. Like, we'll just continue doing what we're doing. And so I decided to talk to the owner about it because that just wasn't the way I wanted to be working. And so after lots of discussion of arranging times, I think throughout the process, it was like a month to a month and a half to actually arrange a discussion to talk with the three of us to really figure out what was going on. It took a lot of pushing on my end, but I made sure not to pass any boundaries in that case. But after the discussion, so the main problem was really how she kind of assumed that from past interns that she assumed that I wasn't actively engaging, and therefore I would because of a past intern that didn't actively engage and her work just went down, if not plateau, she assumed the same would be for me. And so I was like, I really hope that I can show you through my next couple months that will not be my case. And so I think with talking through her our emotions and really working out the logistics of how it's going to work out, she was able to keep an open mind, and I was able to kind of keep working and doing my very best. And yeah, it is really unfortunate, and it is really realistic that you won't always get people to working place. You won't always have people there that would really agree with the way you think. And I think it's just having those boundaries and respecting each other's decision, as well as having a open communication that works to kind of alleviate those problems.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing lesson to take away from that, because yeah, you're not always going to get the perfect supervisor, the perfect coworker. So yeah, good on you.
Thank you. I think just another thing that popped in my head was it was actually one of the first major challenges I had gone through, I think, in a working place, is where you can't fix right away. And so I think at one point I was really low in determining whether I should stop working at the clinic and just kind of give up in the entire process. But I think I was talking with my dad, and he was really encouraging, and he's like, yeah, no, this is a challenge you have to go through, and you will face it later on in your life. So why not get it through now and learn from those challenges and grow from there? So yeah, having a good support system definitely helps.
That's fantastic. And I know I was, working with you through that period, you were writing your reflections. I was reading your reflections, and I just have to emphasize here that you handled that with such maturity and grace. I know how difficult that time was for you, and I was so impressed with how you handled it and how well it turned out. So congratulations.
Thank you.
on both your experiences and your presentation this morning. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sixth this morning is Rachel Tersch, who had a copywriting internship with Osborne Holdings in the winter of 2022, and who developed her own editing and publishing internship for this past summer with the Thames Review and 845 Press under the supervision of Dr. Aaron Schneider.
Okay, so hi everyone. As Dr. Bruce mentioned, my name is Rachel and I'm currently in my 4th year studying SASA and an honor specialization in the English language, literature, and creative writing. So to give you a brief overview of the experiential learning opportunities that I will be discussing today, the 2 internships I undertook was a copywriting internship at Osborne Holdings and an internship at 845 Press and the Thames Review, which was an editorial internship. So I'm going to begin by talking about my experience at Osborne Holdings, which is a marketing and events agency. This internship was completed remotely in the winter term of my 2nd year, so February to April 2022. I was supervised by Oliver Osborne, the founder of the company, and I worked alongside 2 other interns. My ultimate goal when I took this internship was to explore my career options within the writing industry and test out various opportunities which might be of interest to me. I wanted to learn more about myself as a writer and where I kind of felt comfortable. So this internship was structured on like a very tight schedule. Like the timeline I have here is kind of like my average week, with each week beginning with like a new assignment. So Oliver would arrange a meeting on Mondays with all the other interns and kind of assign our tasks and what we would do for the week. From there, on Tuesday or Wednesday, there would be an interview scheduled, which I would either attend or lead, depending on which week it was. Then every Thursday, I would have to have an outline or a rough draft of the assignment, the deliverable, and we would check in on Thursday and kind of do a one-on-one edit session. And then by Sunday, the final copy was due, and the process would just begin anew each week. So over the 8 weeks, I produced 7 deliverables in a range of forums, which touched on marketing emails, pitch decks, ghostwriting, articles, and press releases. On the screen here are a few examples, but to respect the companies that I was writing for, I chose to use online examples, which best represent the work I produced, just because I don't have direct contact with the companies, so I didn't quite want to do it without their permission. And then during the final week, Oliver did an individual employability workshop with me to go over like my resume and my LinkedIn to prepare me for future career seeking, which I really appreciated. But what I appreciated most about this internship is that it was like really set up with like a clear intention of promoting growth within the interns. Like it didn't just focus on like developing the writing skills, but also conducting interviews and attending meetings. And it replicated processes of like a fast-paced work environment, as I mentioned, with like the quick turnaround periods, which was substantially different from my current work style as a university student. I'm like a procrastinator by nature, so learning to adapt to this new kind of schedule and expectation was a significant challenge and my greatest takeaway from the internship. Another outcome of this experience, through trying all these different kinds of copywriting, I learned that I likely will not want to pursue a career path in copywriting. One aspect I remember Oliver mentioning was that I did quite well with my outlines. Like he always complimented my outlines, and I enjoyed putting this together and going through it with them and kind of like figure out different ways to like tackle it. But when I got to the process of actually writing the assignments, it didn't quite click the same way. I enjoy different kinds of writing. So ultimately, my experience at Osborne Holdings was very foundational in learning what I wish for and can come to expect in my future career. It prepared me for a different kind of work experience than what I'm used to. And it'll like, I'm so grateful because it's going to make like any transition to a future career like so smooth, at least I anticipate. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. And then I completed my editorial internship remotely over this past summer from May to August 2023. So this experience was like vastly different from like the one I had at Osborne Holdings. And that was actually something I appreciated as well, having that difference. So this even came in like the way I got the internship. So like Osborne Holdings, it was a traditional like interview process and all of that. But when it came to my second internship, what I really wanted to do was one in the publishing industry, specifically editorial, because that's something that's been an aspiration of mine for so long. So when I took a publishing class with Dr. Aaron Schneider here at Western University, I went to his office hours and kind of just asked if he had any advice for finding some internships within the industry. And he was extremely helpful. He found like me a few options, but what ended up happening is that he helped me put together a specifically editorial internship at his press, which I, again, so grateful for, because it really helped me kind of experience the industry in a way I was hoping to before committing to a career. So how this internship ended up working out was that over the course of 4 months, I worked on 2 manuscripts. You can see them here, called Swing Swing and Civilian of Dirt. Swing Swing is the first manuscript I worked on, and it is a chapbook comprised of a short prose collection. Civilian of Dirt is also a chapbook, but compiled collection, but this one was written in poetry. Both of these manuscripts came with their own challenges. Since when Swing Swing was the first one I did, I had to work through the transition from peer editing assignments in university to giving feedback on professional to be published manuscripts. Here, my biggest challenge was gaining confidence in my abilities. By the time I began working with Civilian of Dirt, I was more comfortable with it, but I'm much less experienced with working with poetry than prose, so learning to work with this new genre also posed some challenges for me. So to go over this process, the structure was different than Osborne Horling's because it was much more task-based than like based on a schedule. So pretty much what would happen is I would be assigned a task and I would complete it in my own time frame and then send it back to Professor Schneider, in which I would get my next task. So it was kind of a step-by-step versus a hit these deadlines kind of thing. So I appreciated the ability to like experience something different, and I think it suited my own style a little bit better in terms of like that freedom to sit with my work a little bit more. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I like kind of really wanted to make sure everything was good before I kind of sent it through. So I appreciate that extra time to sit with the manuscripts. And if I had any questions or was not sure about the decision I was making, Professor Schneider was really helpful. And depending on the question, I could either shoot him a quick email or set up a meeting to discuss it. And I won't go through every step of the process, but as you can see, it followed a pretty detailed steps to produce the final copy. It involved a lot of communication between me, Professor Schneider, and the authors. Essentially, I began by reviewing the manuscripts and sending some notes forward, then taking the revised manuscript and formatting them into Microsoft Publisher, where I was responsible for choosing fonts, formatting elements like line breaks, and designing the cover. This process was fairly similar to the second manuscript. I worked on them simultaneously, beginning edits for Civilian and Dirt. Around this time, I began the formatting stage for Swing Swing. The final products of this internship were chapbooks, both in content and design. Again, this is like something I pulled off the internet to not share some of the work of the people I was working with. So the most valuable asset of this internship was certainly developing stronger confidence in my abilities as an editor. Even just the difference between editing the first manuscript to the second, I began to notice a shift in the way I approached the processes, and I was able to deliver feedback more decisively. I also came away with some experience in formatting design with a better knowledge in how to work with programs that might be used in the industry, because that's something I was pretty unfamiliar with at first. And finally, this internship also reaffirmed my desire to work in editorial publishing in the way that Osborne Horling has taught me to be. Maybe copywriting is not the place I want to be. I immensely enjoy the process of editing and formatting these manuscripts. Editorial publishing is something that I will continue to aspire to in my career, and I'm grateful for the chance to know more strongly that going forward, this is something I would like to be my experience. So overall, I'm extremely grateful for both of these experiences as aforementioned. I am so glad to have had the chance to explore these 2 opportunities in such different formats. It has really set me up well to adapt to different cultures I may experience in future careers. Both of these experiences were chosen to explore different elements of the writing and publishing industry. Something that I struggled with in both internships, though, is the remote nature of it. In both internships, I was like a little isolated. Even with Osborne Holdings, when I was working with other interns, I kind of felt distanced from it. So I think going forward, this will encourage me to look for careers that have more on-site or blended options. And yeah, those are my thoughts on my internships.
Wonderful, Rachel. Thank you. do we have questions for Rachel? Gray.
So it sounds like you learned a lot at both of your internships, even though they were similar fields, but it sounds like very quite different. I was just wondering how you've been finding being able to bring, or if you've been able to bring the skills you learned in your internship back into the classroom, and maybe vice versa.
Yeah, I think, well, I kind of mentioned going from the transition from like peer editing to like editing in my internship in particular. So I think something I try to apply there was something I always try to do is like do positive and constructive feedback. So I think having that previous experience helped my transition to editing in a more professional form, and that's something I got complimented on. So I'm kind of glad I had that experience in university. And vice versa, I think Osborne Holdings was probably something that really helped my university career, because I did it in second year, where like we're still kind of learning, still kind of trying to figure out like the different ways we can do it. And I tackled so many different kinds of writing that have come up in a couple of my different courses that I feel like I was better prepared for them, because the writing courses that I do in my other degree, like there's some article ones, there's some that, so things I hadn't previously done a lot of, so I was kind of grateful to have that, and then I have that in my back pocket should I ever need it in the future.
Thanks, Greg. I have a question for you, and it has to do about the feedback you gave, seasoned writers. You're a student, so what did you learn about giving good feedback, effective feedback?
Yeah, I think that was also something I mentioned I kind of struggled with, because it was it's going from talking to peers to talking to somebody in a professional capacity. So again, it was approaching it as suggestions, not, hey, do this, or like it was kind of I think one thing I remember is there were titles, I think I can't remember which one, but one of the titles, they had like very simplistic titles, but then so like titles that were kind of like out there and a little interesting. And I kind of highlighted those interesting titles. I was like, these are so great, they stand out. Is there a way that you could kind of bring this tone into the rest of your titles to make it consistent? And I think that was one of the changes that they did implement. So I was kind of happy to see that. So it's kind of just picking something from their writing style and talking about consistency, and yeah, just trying to positive and negative. Well, not negative, constructive, sorry.
Yeah, that's great. It's lovely. All the skills that come into that, your ability to analyze, your ability to be diplomatic. Yeah, good, clear communication. That's fantastic. And I just have to say that because of Rachel's success in the Thames Review internship, we're now offering it regularly. So thank you so much for that. Anthony Tran will be telling us about the undergraduate summer research internship he completed this year in linguistics, Indigenous language revitalization, and archival work under the supervision of Dr. Tanya Granadillo.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'll share my screen now. There we go. Sorry, I hope everyone can see it. And
yes, we can.
To presentation mode now. Oh, spoiler alert, don't look. I think it's on the final reflection slide right now, trying to bring it back to the front. Oh no, thank you. Great, so thank you so much again for the introduction. Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Tran. I'm currently fourth year student in SASA and doing an honors spec in linguistics. Sorry, is it on the first page right now? I think it's on the agenda page.
Yes, it is.
For me. It's on the first page? Okay.
It's on the agenda page, yes.
It's on the agenda. Okay, no problem. Well, the first page is in. much more than anything. So today I'll be talking about Chima and I work with indigenous language from Venezuela. So we'll jump right into the agenda today. We've got first a background on Chime. I think it's really important we situate ourselves in the language revitalization work that I did. So I want to open up with the language that I worked on. Next, I'll talk a little bit about the internship and some of the highlights there, and then I'll go into a bit of my own personal reflection. So yeah, like I said, I want to start off with a little bit about the language. Chima is an endangered language from Venezuela. It's a language off the coast of Venezuela, kind of near maybe Trinidad Tobago area. And it's currently undergoing a new renaissance in literature. There's very little research done in the language. So it was extremely validating and really cool to be, pioneering new research in a field of linguistics, especially as an undergraduate student. And my work was contributing to a greater typology project. There's a larger question currently in this area of linguistics about the grouping of languages within this community. So it was cool to be able to address that question more specifically. So a bit about the internship specifically, like I said before, I was a part of the USRI, which if you don't know is a research internship program here at Western that provides students with the opportunity to work with professors within their faculty or within other faculties to explore a research topic of interest. And this is a second USRI that I've completed. I've also done another project in linguistics, but I'm really glad to say that both projects were very different and I was able to explore a range of topics within linguistics. And I found it very important for me to do an EL that was in line with not only my interests, but my future career paths. And I do see myself within academia and was really excited to do research as my internship. So my specific roles for this internship, pretty much it was divided into two parts. The beginning half was a digitization of a manuscript, which I'm about to show. And the second half of the internship was a lot more data analysis and creating my own paper about some of the findings we found within the data. So like some of the highlights for my internship would have to be, of course, I'm very grateful that it was a remote position. This is my only EL, so it was a lot of hours that I put into this position. But to be able to do it remotely, obviously, I wish there was some opportunities to come in person, meet with my co-intern, meet with my supervisor, but with a remote position, it allows me all these other things that I have listed here, flexible hours. I was able to, work with my supervisor. She was very understanding that it was my summer and, on summer, you want to take some breaks, so she definitely understood that. And we were able to work through a schedule that worked for both of us. And with those flexible hours, it provided me a lot of self-direction. And I think that's a very common personal reflection with self-reflection is that it can be a double-edged sword for sure. You have that awesome aspect of being able to choose when and where and how you want to progress in your timeline. But with that comes a lot of personal accountability and making sure that you're on track of everything. And that's something I definitely struggled with throughout the internship. So I'm glad to say that I developed it, I worked on it, and I was able to, feel powerful in my own self-direction. And lastly, I wanted to highlight the mentorship that I was provided from my my supervisor. She has been instrumental not only in providing me that experience, but helping me apply to grad schools right now, which I'm incredibly grateful for. So just being able to form a close relationship with someone within the faculty and within my research interests has been absolutely incredible. So I wanted to show a little bit about what I did this summer. Below here, you have a small screenshot of the manuscript which I worked with. It was this huge document, about 600 pages, all in Spanish and sometimes in Latin too, which unfortunately I don't read Latin, but I can read Spanish. And it was a lot of fun to be able to just work through the data. It was tricky at first because it was like I was thrown into it kind of, there was no workshopping or like, how do you do this? It was kind of like you learned as you go, and that was completely fine with me because it was a lot of fun to do. So this text had a grammar, it had linguistic data, it also had a dictionary end of it. So there was a lot of information to draw from it. So because of that, we had to hone in on a topic, me and my co-intern. So our research output actually manifested itself in this research paper, which I hope it's not being blocked by my sidebar because it kind of looks like it is, which we talked about pronominalization, which I don't believe this is a crowd of linguists, but it's essentially just how China uses pronouns. And it was really interesting just because it was vastly different than how English uses pronouns. So to be able to compare and contrast and really hone in on these little details that a lot of people, that's my life in linguistics. I'm focusing on things that a lot of people aren't really noticing about language. It was really cool and really fulfilling. I was grateful to be able to present this information at the USRI conference at the end of the internship as well, which, as I said here, and it's kind of what I'm doing as well now, is I was able to present the research to non-linguists using plain language and simpler terms, but still trying to get my point across there. And I think it was a very successful presentation as well. So I wanted to highlight probably the worst challenge that I came across this summer. I'll paint you a small picture. I was at home very happily doing my work, and all of a sudden my battery dies, and I'm like, oh no, time to go to Apple and see what's going on. And not only did I lose my battery and about $200 for the replacement, but I had lost every single piece of information and data that was on my laptop. So every single file was gone. And if anyone knows that struggle, it's one of the worst feelings possible for sure, especially when you're working with such regular data and a lot of different data. So it was something that I learned right there and then, was that not only do you have to save everything twice, but to make sure that it's online now, now that we have that option. If I had done these precautions, I feel like my time wouldn't have been lost and I would have felt a little bit better. But it's something that I learned, and it's something that I just had to keep on, I had to keep pushing forward and move past. So just to wrap things up here, like I said before, sorry, was that by 30 seconds?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you, Jen. So just to wrap things up, like I said before, it was very important for me to do an internship that I felt in line with my career path. So I'm very grateful that I got the chance to do an EL with the USRI. And it was amazing also to be able to explore a different world within linguistics. There is a lot of different specifications that I could pick. So the opportunity to really see which ones I like and which ones I don't like is extremely important to me. And lastly, of course, I can't deny the importance of Indigenous language revitalization. This, of course, isn't a Canadian Indigenous language, but it is still one. If anything, we're so fortunate in Canada to have such great resources pushed into Indigenous language revitalization. So to be able to support another country and to support another people's endeavors into revitalizing their language was incredibly fulfilling. And I'm so glad I got the chance to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony. That was great. I'll just ask you, there you go, perfect. Switch views here. Are there any questions for Anthony? Anjali.
Great presentation. I'm sorry about the battery thing. Also, me and Lauren were just discussing this. I wanted to ask you, like, what kind of inspires you to study linguistics and just continue studying that? Because it's just such an interesting topic that's so specific. So I wanted to hear why you got into that.
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for your question. I have always been fascinated by language. This project, I think, specifically spoke to me. Maybe more for a technical reason. I have been learning Spanish for the past couple of years, so to be able to use my Spanish in a professional setting felt incredible. It felt like I had been working and actively, developing something that I could use. But on a greater scale, I just feel like language is how we are able to communicate and connect. Well, obviously, naturally, but it's really it's so crucial, and there's so many aspects to it. And I think I kind of spoke to that too in my presentation, in that because there's so many aspects to it, I just kind of want to see it all. I want to explore so many different realms. And because I have these opportunities through USRI, through courses and through out of course opportunities, I can really explore language in depth in university. So I think that's what inspires me, is just how much there is to language, and how even as you said, like it seems like such a specific thing, but to me, I also see that as a jumping point for patterns to be found within other languages, or for more research to be done within that same language. So it seems specific, but then it grows into much more. It's like a tree that can just sprout, right? So it's kind of also my motivation for research in general. It's that same mentality.
Thank you. Gray.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry to hear about the battery. That sounds like the worst thing in the world, but my question kind of revolves around it. Because you mentioned how, it taught you the importance of saving things twice and saving things to the cloud. But I was wondering if you gained any specific like crisis management skills that you learned from like the actual day it happened that you can maybe like apply in the future when problems like this inevitably come up again. Just because I find crisis management to be a really big topic these days.
Yeah, and that definitely was a day for sure. I felt the pain of it a lot. I didn't just lose my work. I lost like my like resume file, that I like save and edit, and like some other smaller things that it's kind of tough to lose. I think I think probably I can't lie. The best thing in on the day that helped me get through it was being able to reach out to my co-intern, who was also a dear friend of mine, and have her help me and support me and make sure, like just give me the verbal like support that I need, in that she understands where I'm coming from. She understands what data we lost together, because we had been working together as well. So yeah, I think that's also not even something that only I have said. Some other people have said before as well, that their support system is what gets them through the toughest challenges. And I'm also grateful for, it's not even just your family or supervisor, it's the people you work with as well that end up, it's kind of like your quote unquote trauma bonding of going through the work together, is that you feel a connection, and to be able to, like use that connection as well. Not use, but you understand what I mean. Rely and have that support. It feels nice for sure.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. That was great. Thanks. So that brings the end to our presentations. I will be posting the presentations along with the students' final reports on their experiences in SASA's Scholarship at Western page. And I will also be putting together this as a video and posting it on the SASA website. If anyone wants to go back for references, it's a great resource. I want to thank our presenters today and offer my congratulations on not only your excellent presentations, but also the stellar performances you gave in your experiential learning opportunities. You make it an absolute pleasure for me to come to work every day, and I thank you for that. And thank you again to our guests for joining us today and supporting the SASA program and our students. I yield the floor to Era for some final words.
Thank you so much, Barb. And I too have to thank the students for their presentations. They were so professional and so insightful. And I'm well aware, as their fourth year capstone teacher, that only 18 hours ago, they were presenting their creative and academic work in a wonderful fourth year capstone group project, Circadia, with, an exhibition in the University Community Center with lots of interaction and guests. So, to know that you took that down and then woke up this morning and came in so beautifully prepared to present these is really impressive. You've shared a range of experiences that demonstrate the value of experiential learning, not just for the practical skills you acquire, but for the self-knowledge that comes with taking on new and different challenges. And you really articulated that value so beautifully. So thank you so much to Gray, Lauren, Margaret, Anjali, Naomi, Anthony, and Rachel. I really want to thank all of our guests for coming today. It means so much to see you on the screen. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your presence more than we can say. And it's just always nice to sort of feel that connection with our community members. I want to thank Jen Tramble. She's been silent, but she's been running this whole Zoom call very smoothly, timing the students, warning them when it's almost up. So we appreciate that work on Zoom today and every day in SASA office and beyond. And extra special thanks, of course, to Dr. Barbara Bruce for her careful stewardship of SASA's experiential learning program. Barb has established and cared for dozens of community partnerships so that our students have access to such a wide range of opportunities. Her care and professionalism in placing and mentoring students ensures that each experience really is an opportunity for profound learning. And Barb is a delight to work with on the SASA team as well. So Barb, thank you so much. And with that, I will wish you all a fantastic weekend.